Ladies and gentlemen, the following is another episode of 15 Minutes of Fandom brought to you by the Wrestling Fans Podcast, Ringside Society. During this episode, what we do is we take the spotlight and put it on one wrestling fan that we feel stands out from the rest of the crowd. So, with that being said, I am your host, that ocean crossing, straight up bossing, flight catching, shot glass snatching, always positive, life is great, repping 592, living in the 718, no cap, straight facts, the worldwide starboy, Remy Blue. And our special guest tonight is a woman who actually wears more than one hat. Not only is she a wrestling fan, but she's also a Twitch streamer, a blogger, and a frequent player of The Sims. Everybody, welcome to the show, Manda Micro.
Well, thank you for that introduction. That was that was quite an introduction. Thank you.
Yeah, I tried. Didn't even drink my water yet either, but yeah. Thanks. So, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. I am, like most people in the wrestling community anyway, excited for tonight's AEW Dynamite. I think tonight is what, the third year to the date anniversary since they debuted. Is that correct?
Yeah,
I
yeah, I
might
think
be
you're right.
wrong.
I know it was something. I know it was somewhere, sometime around this time that they had. I think it was Fight for the Fallen or Fighter Fest. I could be wrong, but I know it was around this time that they were pretty much in existence. To me, I say they were in existence back in 2018 when they had that um pay-per-view. I forgot what it. I think it was called All In when you had
All
Joey
in, yeah.
Janela and
Hmm.
Penelope Ford and all these other people in there, and it was just a pay-per-view to remember, and it was pretty awesome. I actually enjoyed it.
Revolutionary, yeah.
It definitely was, and it did pretty well for a non WB pay per view because at that time, WB was pretty much the only game in town. I mean, yeah, you had Impact, you had Ring of Honor, you had New Japan, but they weren't on the level of you know WB. And now we have AEW. That's the other game in town. So I'm very grateful. I've always said that when AEW first came out 3 years ago, people were saying, "Oh, now we have a choice." And I was telling people, "No, you always had a choice. What was Impact? What was Ring of Honor? What was New Japan? What were all the other indie shows that you had that had weekly episodic shows online available to you? What were those? So yeah, I think it was around this time that they came out.
I think um I think what AEW kind of did in in um in in their debut, I think what they did was help like get the eyes for the casual wrestling fan that was kind of looking for that big name competition to go against WWE. I think it opened the eyes for the casual fan to recognize that there are other promotions, because I feel like since AEW's been around, I feel like the indies have just been hotter than ever. And not just AEW, but I feel like GCW is doing amazing right now. You have New Japan still thriving and doing well. Impact does well. I love Impact's women's division. Um, Impact has the best booking as far as women's divisions go, in my opinion. And then you have, all your other promotions like Enjoy Wrestling is out right now and it's hot. Beyond Wrestling. Um, I don't know if they're still around, but I've been watching a promotion on YouTube called Eve Riot Girls
Oh,
Wrestling.
they're in I believe they're in the UK.
Okay. All
I
right.
think I could Pro Wrestling. Are they called Pro Wrestling Eve?
I think so. Eve Riot Girls or Pro Wrestling Eve, or maybe it's interchangeable.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I think they're still around.
oh, and you have Stardom. You cannot sleep on Stardom either. Like it's just, I think.
So
Oh, go ahead.
Stardom is actually unique because not because of they're an all women's promotion in Japan, but they have the only you probably know this, but for those of y'all that don't, that are women's wrestling fans, and I'm not trying to act like I'm better than anybody because I know this, but they're the only ones that have a six women's tag team title.
I didn't know that. To be honest with you, I'm just getting into Stardom myself. I just started watching Stardom maybe like 2 months ago. There's another wrestling show that I watch called Church of Joshi that's kind of teaching me all about Stardom and women's wrestling. So I've been learning from them.
Church of Joshi is that's Kayla Vision
Yes.
and Queen of the Ring, right?
Yes.
Yeah, wow, they're Queen of the Ring's actually doing pretty good, pretty big things. And she's on a show with one of another guy who I actually respect. I always tell people there's two levels of respect. There's respect, and then there's utmost respect. And this guy has my utmost respect. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but a guy by the name of Sir Wilkins.
Oh yes, the Complex Unsanctioned show. I listened to that too.
He actually is part of Jobber Tears podcast, and I could tell you, if somebody had actually had to sit me down and say, "Hey, Remy, what are some top five? What are the top five podcasts that you actually have the utmost respect for that inspire you to do better and whatnot?" Jobber Tears would definitely be one of them because they have given back so much to the community. And if you're a wrestling fan here that's in New York, that's pretty well versed with pro wrestling and all the people that are on the um, other side of the pro wrestling spectrum, which is the fan side, you would definitely know what they've done for the community and so on. But yeah, so Church of Josie, wow, I didn't know they do all that. Like they tell you about Stardom and all that. I gotta check them out.
Yeah, it's an awesome show. It's like for people like me who don't know where to begin as far as Joshi wrestling goes. Not only do they go through Stardom, but they go through like historical iconic historical Joshi wrestlers. Like there was an episode that I watched a couple of weeks ago where they focused mainly on Akira Hokuto,
Okay,
and I learned about her. And yeah, and then they do new contemporary wrestlers. Like they had an episode about Thekla, and that was fun too. So it's good stuff. It's good to
that's
see women thriving like that.
maybe I'll actually check it out. So you know what this means? You gotta take a trip to Japan, man. I don't know if you've done it already, but you gotta take that trip to Japan, man. Check out what it is and what's up with the wrestling. I don't mean to brag, but I've gotten my chance. I was actually stationed in Japan for 3 years. I got to check out the New Japan store, and yeah, it's small, but you see some pretty good stuff in there.
That's awesome. Yeah, like since I've been a kid, growing up watching Dragon Ball and Sailor Moon, like Japanese culture has just kind of always been in the household. And I got introduced into manga when I was like in high school. I don't know if you've ever heard of Showbiz, but that was one I used to read all the time.
Okay,
And yeah, Japanese culture has just always been something that's influenced me, and it's just been a part of my life. And I don't watch as much anime now like I used to when I was younger. I'd like to. I just started watching an anime called Food Wars. um but yeah, I've tried to watch like My Hero Academia. I like it. I just, as when you become an adult, you learn that your time is limited. So
oh
you
yeah,
kind of you don't get to watch everything you want to watch.
yeah. Trust me, I know because at one time I was watching OVW wrestling. I was watching OVW, WWE, Impact, AEW, and now it's like I'm doing so much running around. I don't really have time to watch it all. I could only probably watch the highlights and so on. But yeah, anime, I've gotten into it. It's on and off for me. I mean, I don't know if you consider Pokemon anime, but I've definitely watched that. I used to watch that a lot. Digimon, Monster Rancher. What else did I watch? There was one that was similar to Sailor Moon. It was called I think the Japanese version was called Tokyo Mew Mew. I watched the dub version, and it was kind of similar to Sailor Moon, just that it was five high school girls that had, I think, the power of certain animals, and they're undercover. They worked at a cafe that was the cover. That was a front for where they. That was a front for their headquarters slash training base, and it was a really interesting series to watch. It was only like 2 or 3 episodes, 2 or 3 seasons. It was pretty good stuff.
I have to check that out. I'm working on getting a Crunchyroll account so that I can watch more anime. So
It's
maybe
Crunchyroll.
there.
So is it the Japanese dubbed one, or is it like I heard the Japanese dubbed one is better to watch than the American one?
Yeah, the Japanese is always better to watch. Like to give an example, there's an anime that I watch called Kill la Kill, and I was introduced to the Japanese version of it, and they released an English dubbed version of it, and I watched like maybe 2 episodes of the English dubbed episode, and I was like, "This ain't it, Chief." Uh, so yeah, I go Japanese versions all the way.
Yeah, like I've seen what was it? Certain episodes of Pokemon. Like there's one where Ash gets a gun pulled on him by a rancher. And that was the one where he caught, I think, a ridiculous amount of Tauros. And they didn't show that in America because of that one scene where he gets a gun pulled on him. And it wasn't in a threatening way. It was just that he was visiting the rancher's place of work slash home, and the guy was just on guard. He just was like pulled a gun briefly on him, and then he put it back in his pocket. And that one wasn't allowed to be aired in America, but I saw the Japanese one for it, and it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, the Japanese versions of the animes are a little bit more relaxed in their content as far as what's allowed to be shown.
So tell us, man, how did you become a fan of professional wrestling? When did your fandom start? You know, what was the pay per view or the event that you saw that had you hooked, or who was that one relative you saw watching wrestling and you were curious as to what got their attention?
I was just talking to him yesterday about it. I have to say I've been a lifelong wrestling fan. I honestly don't remember when I started watching wrestling because I just have always been watching it all my life. I was kind of like born into it. Um, my dad and my older brother are the ones who got me into wrestling. Like I said, I was born into it, so I don't have a solid. Okay, so my solid memory that I have, like my I watched it before this, but this is like my first like hard grain memory of wrestling was Macho Man, Ultimate Warrior versus Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 6, and I remember watching that with my brother, and that was like my first official memory of wrestling. But I had been watching wrestling like before that, but you're so young, you don't have a solid memory of things. But growing up, we just always loved watching wrestling, me and my brother, and we his favorite wrestlers are Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. And when I was growing up, I was a fan of China. Like I in my room here, I still have China's book. If you only knew, the Hardy Boys. My favorite wrestler growing up uh, was Triple H, and like him retiring and leaving his boots in the ring at WrestleMania this year, like shook me to my core because when everybody was like in school when wrestling was cool or whatever, and everybody was like hating on Triple H because he was a bad guy, and like 1999 to like 2002 when he got injured, Triple H was like on a whole different level. Like I joke around and say that guy would have sold his soul. He did sell his soul essentially to get that belt. Like he would have sold stuff down the river, like all of that. He was relentless. And then I've seen videos of like like the JR's commentary just cussing Triple H out and like the heat that he had towards Triple H. And it's amazing. But yeah, I love The Rock, Triple H growing up, China. Lita is a big inspiration in my life as well because I grew up listening to a lot of punk rock. um, I don't know if you would call them a punk rock band, but my favorite band of all time is Glassjaw. I have a big Glassjaw tattoo on the back of my neck. But yeah, like music has always been a big part of my life. Like I grew up an alternative black goth kid, and seeing someone like Lita be punk rock and a woman and doing moonsaults in the ring with the guys just hit different with me. And like um so Lita was a big inspiration to me. And then as I got older, I discovered wrestlers like CM Punk. Um, who else did I discover? John Cena. I Randy Orton. I remember being young and saying that guy's going to be the future. I remember talking to my brother about that when I was a kid. But yeah, I'm just I can keep going on if you want me to. I don't know if you want to change subjects or what. Uh-oh, I lost your audio.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I mean, we don't. This is your spotlight. We don't mind. Uh, like I said, this is the fan spotlight. 15 minutes of fan. I mean, 15 minutes is actually only in the wording. It's. Uh, but yeah, we don't mind. But that's interesting that you grew up listening to punk rock. Obviously, I'm a black kid too, but at the same time, I'm a black man. But when I grew up listening to people like Lenny Kravitz. I grew up in the '90s, so I listened to a lot of alternative rock. Um, Savage Garden was one of my favorites. I still bump both their bands to this, both their albums to this day. I wish they would reform, but unfortunately, Darren Hayes and Daniel Jones are like, nope, it's not happening. So unless it could cure cancer. So hey, who knows? But I grew up listening to like rock as well. So um, yeah, uh, and actually, I don't know if you know about this band, Seven Dust. They're actually one of my favorite bands
Seven Dust. I
because
remember Seven Dust when I was in middle school because I was like, Seven Dust has the black lead singer, right?
LeJohn Witherspoon.
Yes. I remember seeing Seven Dust on MTV when I was a kid, and I was like, because at the time, like, you didn't really see that many black lead singers, and
Yeah,
like, I knew Bad Brains and stuff like that, but like, you didn't see that many. And I remember as a kid, I saw Seven Dust, and I was like, someone who looks like me.
yeah, dreads and everything. Actually, the first song I heard, and it's a song I work out to. I always have on my gym playlist, even to this day. No matter what phone I have, I always have to have it. It's a song called "Broken Down" by Seven Dust. I always have to have that song on there. It's the first song I heard from them, and when I saw, like I said, when I saw the John Witherspoon, I'm like, "A brother's doing this?
Yeah.
Yo, this is crazy! I'm in." But the fun part, the first rock recordings, and this is my own ignorance because when I was younger, I used to feel ashamed to be, black and listen to rock. Your peers are like, "You're black, you're supposed to listen to hip hop and R&B," and I mean, I do listen to that too, but I used to be kind of ashamed. And then I found out about Lenny Kravitz. I was like, "Wait, Lenny's half black. He could do it. I mean, he could play it. I'll listen to it. It's my own people." And then afterwards, I was in the library one time and I was looking up um, like Black history facts and so on. I found out the first rock recordings were actually done by a group of black people. So I'm
Yeah,
like, well, there you go. Nobody can tell me nothing now. You know,
absolutely.
yeah. So you mentioned Triple H, and you mentioned John Cena and China. Did you ever growing up? Did you ever get to see them live, or did you ever get to meet them in person or anything?
I actually have photos of me in my room still of when I met Triple H when I was 14 years old. I don't know if you remember, but he wrote, like, I don't know if he wrote it or WWE said he wrote it, but he had that bodybuilding book that came out,
Yeah.
and he was doing a signing here, and I was like, we have to go meet Triple H. So I have some photos of me and my brother, and we got to meet Triple H. He signed our book. I still have the book. I'm never getting rid of it. He signed the book, and Earl Hebner signed the book. And I got to see Triple H wrestle a few times. I never, unfortunately, got to see China wrestle. I didn't start going to shows until I was maybe about 13 or so. I think that's when my dad took me to my first WWE event. And even still, we didn't go to that many. I didn't really start going to events until I discovered independent wrestling when I was 20. And then I kind of just fell in love with independent wrestling and was at every every show here in Florida.
Okay.
So but I saw Triple H wrestle a few times at some house shows and some Raw shows. I saw The Rock on his birthday one year. Um, I did see John Cena. I've been to a couple of WrestleManias. I went to the WrestleMania. I'm so happy I got to go to this one in Florida where Rock versus Cena fought for the first time. And I got to see that amazing Hell in a Cell match with Triple H, The Undertaker, and Shawn Michaels as the referee, the end of the era match. So I got to see that live. And then I also got to see CM Punk wrestle Chris Jericho that night, I think. I want to say I did. I hope I did. If not, I look weird. But anyway, I've seen CM Punk wrestle before them. And
Okay.
uh who else have I seen? I've been to the WrestleMania where Roman fought the Undertaker and gave the Undertaker his like assumed retirement. Um and then I've been yeah, those are the WWE shows I've been to. The rest have just kind of been independent shows and stuff like that.
So wow, so you're in Florida because I remember I did I don't think you were in Florida because I remember Barrington Hughes. Shout out to Barrington. He's actually our one of our alumni guests.
I trained with the gym.
Were you trained to wrestle?
No, we just lift weights together. I do
Oh,
my own workout and he does his workout, but
because
we train together at the gym.
I was like you mentioned, yeah, shout out to the homie Manda Micro who's gonna be our ringside society. So I'm like, damn, this is a small world. Like, how did he know? And then I was like, did she live in Florida? And yeah, that's cool. Actually, Barrington was on my first ever indie show that I went to back in 2012 at what was it, Future of Wrestling, which is in Deerfield.
I used to go to those too.
Wait, do you know my friend Lenny?
That name.
Chris Cartwright.
Yes, I do. I just spoke to him
Son of a gun.
yesterday.
I saw he liked one of the tweets that you were on. So I was like, wait a minute, Lenny like this. Small. So he introduced me to the indies. He he took me to my first indie. That same indie show that Barrington was on. He invited me to go to it. So I checked it out. It was pretty cool. You had people like Jordan Rayner on there. You had Trina Mason. Who was the guy? He passed away recently, man. A lot of people knew him. Jeez, it was several years ago, 4 years ago. I think he used to come with a shake weight, but he was on that show. You had MDK, I think was his name. Several people were on. Snake Master Jeff was on that show too, or Snake
I
Master.
remember Snake Master.
And you had Justin Sane, and I was like, yo, this is lit. I like this show, and that's where I met Barrington. Yeah, Lenny's that's my homeboy, man. Anytime I go back to Florida, I always hit him up like, yo, let's go, hang out or something. Yeah, he was actually on this show too before. Really
Shout
cool
out
guy.
to Lenny.
Yeah, man, really cool guy. That's it's a small world, man. But yeah, so what shows have you been to in Florida, like indie shows?
Well, I started going in 2010, and I started going to my first ever independent show was a show called ICW, not the ICW that you see a lot on YouTube, but
Insane Championship Wrestling in Miami, right?
Independent Championship Wrestling.
Yeah.
So I started going there to ICW, and then I would be like a frequent viewer of ICW. And then Future of Wrestling, and then there is a promotion called Live Pro Wrestling, and then who else? There was FOW, Live Pro Wrestling, ICW, and then Live eventually went away, but then Ronin Pro Wrestling started, and then I started working behind the scenes for Ronin Pro Wrestling, and was part of the Ronin Pro Wrestling crew. Ronin hasn't run any shows since the pandemic has started, but yeah, I became a part of the Ronin Pro Wrestling family. And now the shows I go to are CCW, which is run by Gangrel. I went to it was CCW, and I think another promotion that worked together called Boca Raton Championship Wrestling, BRCW. I went to that show a couple of weeks ago, and I go to Fest Wrestling. I've never been to the Fest yet. I'm hoping to go this year finally, but I go to Fest Wrestling. Where else have I gone?
So
Ignite.
you probably know George Alonso and Salvador.
George Alonso just sent me a friend request on Facebook today. I just got my Facebook back after taking some time off social media, and everybody's like slowly adding me back that I used to know from the community.
That's
And
crazy.
I just saw George today. He sent me a friend request, but we go way back. I used to
You,
watch him wrestle.
George was my mentor. George is the reason why I do this now. He was my mentor. He gave me my foot in the door for podcasting. Like, if I had to say, Remy, who is your who's the Bruno Sammartino to your Larry Zbyszko, the I guess Triple H to your Randy Orton, or for our Star Wars fanatics, or the Obi-Wan to my Anakin, it would definitely be George. George was definitely that guy. This is a small world, man. We probably crossed paths and didn't even know it.
Probably. There's been a few people that I've run into on Twitch that have been like, I've seen you at the Ronin shows, and I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah,
Run it slower.
Chris used to work for Ronin. I know there's FEW down there still doing their thing. Wow, it's there was Blueprint Pro Wrestling at one point.
Yes, Blueprint. I did used to go to Blueprint. I forgot about them.
Wow, we probably saw each other, didn't even like just cross paths, That's wild, man. But yeah, but I gotta say, South Florida they have a pretty decent fan base down there. They have a pretty
Yeah.
decent scene down there. And I'm always like, whenever I hear there's a show coming up, I gotta check it out. I gotta see what it's about and so on. Because you never know who's gonna be the next top person coming out of South Florida. I mean, now we got Austin Theory, who was actually a Blueprint at one point, and now he's the United States champion WB. He's doing his thing up there.
That's wild. I remember when I started going, what is going on with my camera? Focus on me. Hello. Anyway, it'll focus eventually. But I remember when I started going to ICW shows. Focus. There we go. I used to watch Diamante wrestle at ICW. She was under a different name. I don't know if she wants me to say
Angel
her old
Rose.
independent name, but Angel Rose. But I used to watch her wrestle there. Why is my light going out? And who else did I used to watch wrestle? At Ronin, there's a lot of like people that were up and coming that you see on AEW now.
Red Velvet.
Red Velvet, Chris Statlander. We had Johnny Gargano one night. I remember I offered Johnny Gargano a cupcake that I had made. But who else? Diamante. Someone who's making a lot of noise down here in Florida that works at Independence a lot here is Kailyn King, and you see her on AEW Dark a lot. And she did an episode of Dynamite too, I believe. And I know she's doing well in Mission Pro Wrestling as well. She's doing well. She's thriving everywhere she goes. But she definitely made a lot of noise here in South Florida, and it's definitely given her like huge opportunity. And I'm so proud to see her growing and doing her thing. But yeah, there's a lot of people that come out of Florida.
Yeah, we actually had Kailyn on the show too. A very nice woman, very cool. She's actually she actually recently made history. She is the first woman to hold both CCW women's titles. So I don't know if you know, but there's another CCW up here in the Northeast, more specifically in Delaware, Houston, Delaware. That's where they run their shows out of. And she actually holds the title for there, and also the title for CCW down there in South Florida. I don't know if she still has both of them, but she's the first person to ever do that. And she has a picture of both of them as well, too.
I've seen that picture. Yeah. I love it.
It's pretty amazing. And I'm glad that she actually, she's just thriving all over. She's actually going to be at Vixen Wrestling Revolution this Saturday, facing, I think it's Hyan, who's the champion there. She's going to be facing her. That's going to be one to see.
Oh, man, that sounds awesome.
Yeah. Sorry, my camera's kind of acting crazy. But yeah, so your own wrestling show I believe it's called Nerd Zone Wrestling, or I know its first part is called Nerd Zone. I don't want to butcher. So tell us about it.
Okay, so Nerd Zone Wrestling is it started out as what was going to be a 1-week TV show, But I did some talking with my friends and stuff, and we just decided that there's too much wrestling content and it needs to be 2 weeks, 2 days during the week. So it's called Nerd Zone Wrestling. It's going to be on Saturdays and Tuesdays. Saturdays from 12 to 4 and Tuesdays from 7 to 10. And Saturday shows are mostly going to focus on like a theme. So for the first episode, we're going to just delve into Enjoy Wrestling, that promotion, and focus on their shows. And we're going to spend the day watching them, getting to know them, having a conversation about them, just learning new wrestling. And I'm going to be opening up questions to my my Nerd Zone community, like what they want to see, because I think it would be cool if every week on Saturdays we feature for before I started doing this, I started doing Black History Month wrestling, and every day for Black History Month I highlighted a Black wrestler. And then when March came, it evolved into Match of the Day, and it was all women for Women's History Month. And then it just evolved into doing matches of the day of all kind after that. And so I feel like now that I have the platform to show wrestling on my Twitch channel, because before I didn't, and now that I do, I feel like we can have another week where we can showcase Black wrestlers. We can have a week where we can do Latin wrestlers. We're doing Enjoy showcasing the LGBTQ community. Um, and we can have an intergender night. We can have women's wrestling, Joshi wrestling, all kinds of wrestling. And if you want to focus on a wrestler in one particular night, we can have a CM Punk night, a Bryan Danielson night, a Bull Nakano night, for those who don't know who that is. But that's what Saturdays are going to be. And then Tuesday nights are going to be us just watching AEW Dark and AEW Dark Evolution to catch up on the AEW shows during the week. But yeah, that's it. Uh-oh, I lost your audio.
Sorry, I was on mute. I tend to do that sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds pretty awesome. I'll definitely try to tune in and see what it's about. The fact that y'all do like a Bull Nakano night and all that. I mean, giving the fans, some history about the wrestlers and so on. That's pretty awesome. And
Absolutely.
it's always good to educate fans out there on, especially the young up and comers, because now we got people talking about the women's tag team titles, talking about, yes, the first time that we ever had tag team titles. No, they didn't. They had them back in the 80s, and it was Princess Victoria and Velvet McIntyre who were the first holders of those titles. So yeah. And just like how we mentioned that I mentioned that I think it's called the Artists of Stardom Championship, which are the only 6 women championships in all of professional wrestling. I don't know if there's any other place that has them, but they're the only ones that I know of. So yeah, it's always good to educate people and let people know about what's out there and certain little facts and so on. And I look forward to it. And I know you're gonna thrive at it because you seem very motivated. So I'll definitely be tuned in.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So I just got a few more questions before we shut down the show.
Sure.
So, have you ever gotten to go to an AEW show?
Not yet. Hopefully soon. I know they were stationed in Jacksonville for a while, which isn't too far from me, but I didn't want to travel during the first couple of years of the pandemic. Now I'm a little bit more relaxed as far as wanting to go out, but I will. That is definitely on my list of things to do. I'm slowly getting back out there again, so I will be going to an AEW show hopefully by the end of the year.
Awesome. I hope you make it. They've been here in New York several times, but let's see. The first time they came that I was here, I think they were in Queens, but I already had a show to do that day, and I was like, I can either postpone this show and go to the AEW event and network with more people, or I can just man up and do the interview. And then I was like, I'll just man up and do the interview because I always enjoy talking to wrestlers as opposed to, I mean, granted, going to an event is great. It's always great because you experience a certain atmosphere, um, unlike any other. But to actually hear these wrestler stories, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna sit this one out. And then the next couple of times, I think they were in Long Island, and then I was like, yeah, I could make it, but I got work the next day. I like my sleep, so yeah, I'll just sit this one out as well. But I'm gonna get to them very soon. It's gonna happen very soon. It's all a matter of timing, and yeah, it'll be I'm looking for. I've heard nothing but great things about the shows and so on. So I'll definitely try to check it out. So we have a question from a fan here that's asking you, who's your favorite woman wrestler in the women's independent wrestler?
Favorite women's independent wrestler? That's easy. Kailyn King.
Ah, the king of professional wrestling. Okay,
The mother effing king.
nice. Yeah, she's really cool. I still can't believe we had her on the show. I was like, what? We had Kailyn King on here? That's crazy. I'm surprised she's not signed yet. It's very surprising.
Yeah, let's put that energy out there so that it happens for her.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I always like see people like improve, and especially when they've been a guest on our show and then they end up like getting signed or doing even greater things. Like I'm always rooting for them. Yeah. So I just got two more. So my second to last question. Have you ever thought about becoming a wrestler yourself? You ever thought about training? Because you and young lady, you should have told me you were you were a backstage person. Because had I known you were a backstage person, forget 15 minutes of Fandom. She's the main guest. I would have put your picture up there with the little with the snazzy looking ringside society logo. Be like, yeah, Manda Micro interview. You know. By the way, you liking one of our statuses actually was what we were like. Wait a minute. Okay, this person I think it was one of our statuses that they like one of our tweets that you liked on Twitter, and I was and we were like, wait a minute, let's see who liked this. Let's see who liked this tweet, and then we're like, Manda Micro. She has a nice little profile picture, huh? You know what? Something about her. Let's give her a chance, and that's whoop de doo. But then he tells you should have told us you were back. You would have put your picture on there with the sign and everything, man. But yeah, yeah.
A lot of people ask me that if I ever wanted to train to be a wrestler. I think kids that watch wrestling growing up want to be professional wrestlers. Like when I was, under the age of 10, I wanted to be the next China, but I didn't realize what it would take to actually be a China. And then as I got older, I realized like you have to like take bumps and like go through so much physical pain on a daily basis. I was like, I don't think this is for me. I think I will either just, stay on the sidelines or write about it. And funny thing is, I don't know if you know FSCW, the cosplay promotion that does comic book conventions. They mostly do GalaxyCon.
I think were they at the I think it was SuperCon, was it? The one that's
Yes,
in Miami?
SuperCon. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
So, funny thing is, 1 year for SuperCon, I was a valet for the Toxic Avenger at Florida SuperCon Wrestling when it was back then. And I remember that moment when I came out as a valet, I was like, it was like 1,000 people in the audience. And I was so nervous because I was supposed to I was supposed to do something with Toxie after he said a certain thing. And I remember being freaked out in my head because I was like, don't miss your cue. Don't miss your cue. There's all these people watching, all this stuff. And I remember in that moment where I was doing that and in front of all those people, I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm supposed to be a wrestler. I think if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna either just sit on the sidelines or just like interview people or something. But I don't know if I could be in a ring.
Yeah, but I mean, the way there are so many parts that make the wheel of professional wrestling, go around. And I noticed that you don't have to be a wrestler to be a part of the industry. You can be a manager, you can be a commentator, a referee, you can be a gear designer. Gear designers are important too. They're the ones that bring out a person's character. You know, you can be a gear maker. You can also be an entrance theme engineer. Where that is the people that make the music for the wrestlers. And we actually had one guy like that on here before. So there's so many ways, if not wrestler, you can actually be a part of, still be a part of it. I mean, you were backstage, I guess you could say, part of the backstage crew for, Ronin. So there you go.
Yeah, I think my lane is working backstage. And if I'm not working backstage, then I'm doing what I'm doing now, which is help start a healthy conversation about wrestling. Like I like to live tweet during the wrestling shows, like during Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite, Rampage. I like to live tweet to get the conversation going because I do like talking to people about wrestling. And I think because I don't know everything. So it's nice when people teach me stuff. That I think that's a big part of what's going to happen in Nerds on Wrestling is I'm going to be learning a lot with everyone else. But I think my lane is showcasing wrestlers to give them that platform to get to the next level.
Awesome. That's cool. That's cool. So my co-host Rob Bates, who couldn't be here today, uh, would normally ask this, but I'm gonna take a page out of his book. So, you say you're a natural born nerd. No problem with that. I'm a bit of a nerd myself. I mean, so I'm the guy that gets excited when Cobra Kai is coming on. I'm still waiting for season 3 of The Boys to actually start. But what are some, aside from wrestling, what are some TV shows that you like to watch, that you know really get your interest?
Let's see, TV shows. Um, to be honest, I'm not good with current TV shows. I tend to stay like in the 90s or the early 2000s. I just finished watching Fresh Prince of Bel Air for like the third time on loop. The original, not the remake. I haven't watched the remake yet.
Okay.
But Bob's Burgers is one of my favorite TV shows. One of my favorite TV shows is The Simpsons. Seasons 1 to 10, Golden Era of Simpsons, hands down one of the best shows I ever saw. Um, and then I love Bob's Burgers so much that if you look, oh, my light went out. I have a Tina Belcher tattoo here on my arm.
Oh, okay.
I'm actually getting another tattoo of another animation domination from Fox cartoon on Sunday, but I can't tell what it is yet. I have to. You'll see a tweet when it's done, but it's a surprise. But I loved watching Daria when I was growing up. I still watch Daria. Who else do I watch? 30 Rock is one of my favorite TV shows. Who else? I've been watching my favorite superhero, if we're going to talk about nerdism real quick, my favorite superhero of all time, hands down, without an argument or anything like that, is Spider-Man. Peter Parker is the best superhero of all time. I can go on for days on why Peter Parker is amazing. And I've been watching one of my favorite TV shows growing up was the original 1994 Spider-Man series. So I've been watching that. The 1992 X-Men series, I've been watching that too. I'm trying to get into WandaVision. Like I'm slowly trying to like watch the Marvel, the Marvel. I'm slowly trying to watch the Marvel Cinematic Universe TV shows to kind of get caught up because I did see Doctor Strange a couple of weeks ago and I liked that, but I didn't understand really fully how Wanda ended up in the picture. So I'm trying to watch WandaVision. I'm trying to watch Falcon and Winter Soldier. It's just a matter of like figuring out the time to find to watch all these shows. But yeah, those are just some of the shows I watch.
is that George? That's actually so for some reason Facebook won't let us see who's.
I was
commenting,
wondering who that
I
was.
got a feeling it's George. George, if that's you, man, how you doing, man? We were just talking about you like earlier. Uh, yeah, Spider Man is pretty cool though. I enjoyed the Into the Spider Verse movie. That was pretty awesome. When I saw the preview for it, which aired, I think after, I think it was an Avengers movie. I was like, I gotta go see that, man. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, but '90s, yeah, I was right. It was
It is
definitely George.
George.
Yeah, the '90s X-Men and Spider-Man cartoons, they were pretty good. I remember I used to watch the '90s Spider-Man cartoon series a lot. I really enjoyed it. Introduced me to um a whole new set of characters. I really hope they do a Black Cat movie. I would love to see that.
I've cosplayed as the Black Cat before.
What? That's
Actually, the
awesome.
con where I came out with the Toxic Avenger, that was me cosplayed as the Black Cat.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay. The only superhero I've ever cosplay as fully was Superboy, Connor Kent from
Okay.
DC, and that was basically a T-shirt and jeans. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to Superboy this year, and that was in San Diego like almost 7 years ago. So yeah, that's yeah. The '90s superhero cartoons were pretty awesome. If I could recommend any TV show for you to watch that you would definitely enjoy, you probably heard of it. It's called Quantum Leap.
Oh yeah.
I would recommend it to anybody. It started in the '80s, like I think 1987, 1988. But Scott Bakula did a great job as Sam Baxter. I heard they're doing, not heard, it's true. They're actually doing a reboot. I hope they don't mess it up. From what I'm seeing, it's not a reboot. I'd say it's a continuation. We gotta stop this because they're still gonna mention Sam Baxter. It's just that they're reopening the program. But I really hope they actually do it justice. But yeah, if I could recommend anything, it would be Quantum Leap. It was awesome, and sometimes seeing that show makes me wish I could quantum leap into certain parts of my life and you know, correct certain things. But hey, it is what it is.
Also, I gotta throw in there. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. Duckman. That's another animated show that I watch all
Don't
the
get
time.
me started. That guy was the worst. Duckman. Oh, and he used to beat up those two poor teddy bears, man. I'm like, dude, what is your issue, man? Like, he was a foul mouthed duck. He had no chill.
And it's like
Gosh.
the whole show is just like one big existential crisis. But I was watching it as like a 6-year-old or 6 or 7-year-old, not understanding the jokes until I watched it now.
I wonder if he's from Miami the way he acts, man. Oh, geez. Duckman had no chill, man. That man had no chill. Anyways, Manda, I gotta say, um, thank you, 1,000 thank yous for actually taking time out of your busy schedule to do this. We know you're a busy woman. You got things going on, things coming up, and you're prepping for them. So, thank you very much. This is one of the segments that we live for, one of the segments that make us who we are. And it's 15 minutes of fandom. And I really hope you consider going back, doing more backstage stuff for wrestling, because I got a feeling that you're definitely good for it. And best believe if we find out, we'll definitely have you. We'd like to have you back on here, not just as 15 minutes of fandom, but the main guest, Manda Micro, with the ringside side logo next to her picture. Yeah, that'd be pretty awesome. But before we shut this show down, where can fans find you on social media when they want to talk wrestling? Check out your new show, Nerd Zone Wrestling, right?
Nerd Zone Wrestling.
Awesome. I didn't get it wrong. Nerd Zone Wrestling. And if they want to play some Sims, just hang out on Twitch or even purchase some Manda Micro merchandise, where can fans find you on social media?
So you can find me the majority of the time. I am on Twitter, and that's Twitter at Manda_Micro. I'm about to be on Twitter in a minute when AEW comes on, so y'all gonna see me live tweeting my reactions. Um, The other place that you can find me, I just launched an Instagram, so I'm also on Instagram, Manda_Micro. And the other place you can find me where you'll see Nerds on Wrestling, my sim streams, and then I also do RPGs like Final Fantasies and Kingdom Hearts are like two of my favorite franchises, so I do those as well. But you can find me twitch.tv/Manda_Micro. So yeah, Manda_Micro all around, and that's where you'll find me.
Awesome. That's cool. So y'all make sure y'all are following this young woman. She's doing great things, impressive things, and it's only going to get better. Nerd Zone Wrestling coming soon, very soon. Make sure you check it out. I'll be checking that as well too, because it's always interesting to hear a fellow wrestling fan's opinions and also educational points on professional wrestling as well. So with that being said, once again, Manda, thank you. With that being said, it's time for us to shut this show down. Not because my eyelids are feeling heavy, not because it's actually dinner time, but because guess what? AEW Dynamite's on in the next couple minutes. So with that being said, if you want to find me on social media, you can find me on Twitter at the Remy Blue and also on Instagram at the Remy Blue. I'm also on Facebook under the alias Remy Blue. Our podcast is also on social media. We're on Twitch and Instagram at Ringside Society, Twitch at Ringside Society 2019. We're also on Facebook as a Facebook group, and we're on Blog Talk Radio, Spotify, and we're also on YouTube, where you can see cool interviews like this one, like our one we had yesterday with George Alonso and Scott Bruce of Vixen Wrestling Revolution discussing their upcoming event, and many other cool interviews as well. Trust me, you will not be disappointed. Make sure you go on YouTube. Once you type in Ringside Society, you'll see that sweet OMG dark blue and light blue yin yang sound with the blue flames around it. That's when you know it's us. So make sure you subscribe to all our videos because you don't want to miss a thing like Aerosmith in 1998. And with that being said, we also have a Teespring store where we sell official Ringside Society merchandise. We have T-shirts, we have tank tops. Y'all know the summer's coming up, so you want to show them biceps. We got just a thing for you. We got hoodies for the winter. We got long sleeve shirts. We even have stuff for the kids, and we also have coffee mugs for your favorite warm beverage. So just go, make sure you check out our store, purchase some Ringside Society merchandise. All proceeds go back into keeping this show afloat. It doesn't go back into our pockets. We assure you of that. But with that being said, I just want to thank everybody tuning in tonight live. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. It shows that we're actually doing something right. To those y'all that are going to listen later on, thank you very much in advance. And those y'all that hate us, can't stand us, really and truly wish we'd go away, well, like myself at the Golden Corral, we're not going anywhere for a while. So with that being said, we just want to let everybody know that we're very well aware of everybody and their grandparents and their parents of a podcast. But we're not your grandparents' podcast. We're not your parents' podcast. As a matter of fact, we're not just any podcast. So with that being said, one time for the mind, one time for the people, one time for the wrestling culture, and one time for a Twitch streamer, blogger, wrestling fan, and now host of Nerd Zone Wrestling, Manda Micro. We're the Wrestling Fans Podcast, Ringside Society, hashtag We Are Not the Same. And with that being said, we will be back next week. As a matter of fact, not next week. We'll actually be back this Friday with our AEW Double or Nothing predictions panel, being joined by one of our alumni 15 Minutes of Fandom guests, Mike G. But until then, I just want y'all to do four favors for us. Stay safe, stay healthy, be excellent to each other, and party on, dudes. We out. Peace.